Good morning, everyone. Pam Jacobson here, your host for Three Things You Need to Know. Welcome, everyone. Welcome also to all the new people that have joined. For those of you who don't know me, I have a long history in healthcare. Started my career in conventional medicine as a nurse. I've worked in women's health. I've worked in gastroenterology, cardiology. I've also ended my career working in oncology. And it was through my own personal health issues that I was kind of led down another path and found my way into the world of wellness medicine. And for the last 20 years, I have been in wellness medicine practice, functional medicine. I'm board certified to practice functional medicine. And I work with clients all over the country through testing, through nutraceuticals and supplement treatment and lifestyle modification to help them restore normal body function, get back their vitality and the quality of life they deserve. So you can easily reach me. I've posted it here. My website is thehealingsanctuaryoc.com. You can also just call me, 714-730-2233. So let's get started. I especially love it when you guys reach out and tell me what you want to know more about. Yes, we're looking at trends in health and wellness. That's the Three Things You Need to Know platform. But I want it to be things you really want to know about. And so I love it when you reach out, email me, ask me right here if you're watching today. But let me know if there's a topic that you would like to know more about or that you're really interested in, or something perhaps that you're experiencing and you want to know more. And that's exactly what happened. After my last show, I got an email from a patient I had seen for many years. Thank you, Anne. And she had asked about how to pick a protein powder. It's very confusing. There's so many choices. How do I know I'm getting a good one? And, do I really even need one? And I thought that is a fantastic subject because I have been pretty deeply immersed in the world of protein powders. I've mentioned before on this show that I am the Chief Wellness Officer for a company called Level 10 Health. You can go to their website, level10health.com. And I was charged with developing a product line as well as a wellness program for that company to use with their clients. They have thousands of clients all over the country. And part of that product line was to develop a protein powder. So I was involved in that process, really interesting process. And so I had to do a lot of research on my own so that when I worked with the manufacturer, I was making sure that what we were creating for these folks was going to be something that was of high quality. So I learned a lot about the world of protein and protein powders. And so I want to just back up and do a little bit of Protein 101. I've talked about this before, but it's always good for review. What is protein and why do we need it and how much do we need? Basically, protein, you can't live without it. Okay, let's put it that way. It's a critical macronutrient, right? The three macronutrients in your diet: proteins, fats, carbohydrates. And we all must have it. It is an essential building block for everything: your heart, your brain, your bones, your tissues, your immune system, your gut. We can't really function. We can't repair the body. We can't build and create tissues without the amino acids, which make up the protein, right? So these protein building blocks, there's quite a variety of amino acids that we need. And so therefore we need a variety of protein. It's really important to kind of mix up the diet as far as protein. We can have a number of reasons why we might get deficient protein. We're not eating enough. Maybe we have a specialized diet like we're vegan or vegetarian, and we're maybe not getting enough of a variety of proteins or all of the amino acids that we need. So there's a few reasons why someone might have an issue with protein. Maybe you've got a gut problem and you don't absorb it well. These are some of the reasons that I see. As far as how much you need, most of us need about 50% or so of our body weight in grams of protein a day. So that would be the minimum. If you're, a heavy exerciser or an athlete or a growing, teenager, you're likely to need more than that. But generally somewhere around 50 to 70% of your body weight in grams of protein is kind of an easy way to figure out the sort of baseline. Another easy way to figure it out is each of us are given this unique measuring tool called the palm, right? Mine is a little bit different than yours. And this, if you do a flat open palm full size of protein at 3 meals a day, you're going to be getting about the amount of protein that you should be using. Now, again, that's a general statement. Some of us need more, but many of us don't need less than that. I would say that would be your minimal measuring tool. So need protein, very critical. So why a protein powder? Well, it can help you in a number of different ways, right? It can help you as a meal replacement. So in Level 10 Health, a lot of the clients for this particular company that I work for are busy, very busy in their work. They tend to skip meals. And many of them also have a weight issue. And so they're looking for ways to help manage their weight. Many of them have health conditions or looking for ways to better manage their blood sugar, their lipids, and so forth. Protein powders can be really amazingly helpful in that regard, right? As a meal replacement, it's helpful for building muscle for those of us. That's how protein powders were originally kind of known or developed, was in the bodybuilding world. But, they can help all of us regular non-bodybuilders build muscle. They can also help us lose weight. Protein is a very important component of fat loss, of weight loss. It helps to keep the appetite satiated. And of course provides the building blocks that we need for repairing the body. So very helpful for both muscle gain as well as weight loss. And I find that a protein powder, again, is an easy, convenient thing that we can use following a workout, for instance, or as a meal replacement. I use it a lot in my patients who are ill and unable to consume a regular diet, right? My cancer patients that may be going through chemotherapy. For myself, it was a lifesaver after a major fusion surgery in my neck for really several weeks after I had trouble swallowing things that were very large. So I used a protein powder. So there's lots of ways, I think the main thing is that it's just super convenient and easy and quick. And sometimes when you don't have time for a meal or you open the cupboard or the refrigerator, and like, I don't have anything here, a protein powder can be a great option. So how do we pick one? How do we know how to pick a really good, healthy protein, especially if you're going to use this frequently? You want to make sure that it's a good one, that it's not going to create more problems for you than it's solving. So I want to first say that, yes, there are tons out there, and there are lots of good ones, guys. So I'm not going to drop a bunch of manufacturer names at this point. I'm obviously partial to the Level 10 Health one because I created it, so I know what's in it and I know it's healthy. But that's not to say that there aren't lots of other good ones on the market. You can be the best judge once I've given you this information. Look at your ingredient labels. But there's different types of protein to consider, right? You've got whey protein, casein, egg. You've got pea protein, rice protein, and oftentimes those two are mixed. You have bone broth protein, collagen protein, hemp protein. So you've got lots of choices of different kinds of proteins. Here's what I'd have to say about that. You need to rotate. I believe that in order to get all of the variety of amino acids, it's important to rotate your proteins. And I don't think that you need to necessarily just consume the same type of protein all the time. So if you opened up my cupboard in my kitchen where I keep my protein powders, I have, of course, my Level 10 Health Power formula in there, which is a blended pea rice protein. I have a collagen protein, which I really love for the impact that it has on repairing tissues in the body, bones and cartilage and your muscle tissue. I really love collagen, skin, hair, all of that. And then I also have bone broth protein, which is similar in a lot of ways to collagen. But I do eat animal products in my diet. And so I like a bone broth protein from time to time. But I would say that my typical go-to protein is an organic pea rice blend. It gives me the collection of amino acids I'm looking for. It's organic, it's plant-based. And then I will rotate from time to time using the collagen and the bone broth protein. But again, all of the proteins I mentioned are reasonable proteins. They all do similar things in repair of the body. Probably my least favorite would be soy. I would be careful about whey and casein if you have milk allergies. They both are derived from milk. Although isolates, I want to talk about 3 different kind of forms that you might see when you look at the ingredient label. There's protein concentrate, which will be about 60 to 70% protein. It's just the concentrated form of protein. You will see, I think bone broth proteins are probably more like a concentrate. You will see isolate, which is on the Level 10 Health product that I created. That is an isolate. That is more 90 to 95% pure protein. So it really is just a protein powder. You're getting a high level of protein. And then there's another form called hydrolysate protein, which is even further broken down. It is highly absorbable, but not something you're likely to find on most commercially available labels. It's something that's used more in medical foods and for people who have significant digestive illness. So I really like an isolate because it is, like I said, a more pure or fuller form of protein. And then I also like it when the protein formula or the protein powder contains other nutrients in it, right? It's a great place to get additional nutrition aside from just the protein. So in the Level 10 Health product, we added a superfood that's got all kinds of things that you wouldn't normally consume daily, and like moringa leaf and spirulina and other types of greens and pomegranate, and it's got a full mushroom complex in it, which is amazing for immune health. So I think that if I'm going to spend the money on a protein powder and I'm going to use this on a regular basis, why not pack it full of all kinds of other nutrition, especially if I'm going to use it as a meal replacement? So when you look at your ingredient label, look to see, I think the most important factors are that it's a protein source that you're comfortable with, and that it's organic, especially if it's soy. I think rice, pea, you want to see those bone broths, you want to see them be organic. That really cuts down on things like pesticides and other toxins that find their way into some of these prepared types of powders. You want it to be, a concentrate's fine. I would prefer an isolated form so that you're getting a higher percentage of protein. There was a study recently on a very popular bodybuilding protein that made it sound as if you were getting all of this great protein. And bodybuilders need a lot of protein. They're building a ton of muscle. And when they actually tested it, it only had about 14% protein in it. So if you're going to use a protein powder, guys, you want to get close to 100% of protein out of it. Otherwise, you're kind of wasting your money. I think if you look for one that's got additional nutrients in it, like a superfood or super green food, or, you'll see a number of those out there that offer those additional nutrients. Those would be, I think, some of the key factors. You want to avoid artificial sweeteners like Askew flame and sucralose and aspartame and saccharin, and look for, if the product is sweetened, things like stevia, your lo hong guo and monk fruit are common sweetening agents that we'll see in good, high-quality protein powders. You want to avoid anything on the label that is maltodextrin or artificial sweeteners or colorings, dyes. Those are, and they're very common in a lot of online, especially from bodybuilding places or gyms. A lot of those are really low quality protein products. So you do really have to be, I think, very careful when you're looking at, protein powders, especially in some of those online distributors. So that's, I think that's the key things I had to say about protein powders. I think with this information, you should be able to kind of determine for yourself if you, want to use a protein powder, the type you should use, and have a little bit of education about how to read an ingredient label. If you want to know more about the Power product, you can just go to the Level 10 Health website. That's open to the general public, so you can certainly purchase it on there. You can reach out to me. I can help you if you have any issues. But again, there's good ones, even at your local Costco. Just really read your labels and decide accordingly. Okay, so that's what I have to say about protein powder. Hope you found that helpful. Item number 2 today is about testing. I've been getting a lot of questions about what, I'm going to go see my doctor next week. What kind of test should I ask for? How can I, every year I get a physical and my doctor tells me everything is normal, but I'm not really sure if I need to be looking at more. And here's what I would say. You absolutely need to be looking at more. I've been in conventional medicine a long time. Many of my friends are doctors. An annual physical looks at a very, very small slice of your health baseline. It's not in-depth enough to really look at function. It's simply a disease screening. And here's the issue, guys. Your function is breaking down for decades before it becomes a disease, right? So what functional medicine does is looks way ahead back here at where function is declining and helps to prepare that before it becomes disease. So when I do testing, I am looking for functional changes, functional breakdown that if we do nothing about it, eventually will be a disease. But right now we've got this perfect opportunity. That's not what conventional medicine does. I've said this before, and I just want to be really clear again. Know how to use your different health systems. Conventional medicine is where you go for acute illness. If you've got a COVID infection and you can't breathe, that's the system that you need to be in. If you've got an injury, you're bleeding, you're terribly infected, you're very, very sick, you need to be in a conventional medicine environment. It is not about prevention. It was never set up that way. And it's not about the correction or maintenance or repair of chronic disease. It just isn't. And that's why many of you feel unheard or frustrated because you can't get anywhere. You're using the wrong system. If it's functional breakdown, if you've gone and had your colonoscopy and your mammograms and your screening test done, and they can't find anything wrong with you, but yet you have all kinds of symptoms, you have fatigue, your gut doesn't work right, you constipated, you don't sleep at night, those are the body's messages that function is changing. You will not see those things in the regular conventional testing done in a physician's office, okay? So what do we do in functional medicine as a baseline screening? It's pretty comprehensive. I look at the blood, and in there, I run tests to look at everything. I want to know what your immune system is doing, your basic chemistry, the organ function, liver, kidney. I look at your inflammatory markers, all of your cardiovascular. I do an advanced lipid profile to look at what's happening with your cardiovascular health and where are you at as far as risk level for a cardiovascular event, a heart attack, or a stroke. I look at hormones, all of them, right? That's super important. The hormones work together as a team. When we just look at one, like men, your testosterone, or in women, just estrogen and progesterone, and we don't look at things like thyroid and insulin and adrenal hormones, we can get into trouble that way. We really need to look at things in concert with one another. So hormones, I look at your vitamin D level, super important, your iron status. So that's a much more comprehensive look at what's happening in the body from a function perspective. I use stool tests, and usually a 3-day stool test to look at gut function. It's so important. It is the primary barrier system between you and the outside world. It's very much involved in your immune health. It has a direct connection to the brain. And here's the deal. Most illness starts with a poor gut. And here's the other thing that's really important to understand. You don't necessarily always have a digestive symptom. So if you're that person that's going, oh, that's not my problem, I can eat whatever I want, I've never had a problem, I never get upset. You may not have any symptom of digestive dysregulation. However, you will have issues in function in the body. So we do a very comprehensive 3-day look at the gut function through the stool. And I also look for things like bacterial overgrowths and fungal issues and parasites, blood in the stool. So lots of other ways to screen for other problems that can be happening in the body through the digestive system. And then I do some salivary testing. So for those of you that have been my patients, you're all sitting there going, yep, I did all those things. The saliva test, when appropriate, is one that I use to look more accurately, if you will, at adrenal hormones. They're much better portrayed in the saliva. I also use it in some of my young female patients to track issues with their menstrual cycle. So those are some of the baseline health testing. Again, anything I talk about on this show, I can help you. Either I can get it for you or I can help you find it in your area. So please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help you get the baseline testing and understand what you can do about those results. So very important, guys, to do the baseline testing at least annually so that you're on top of things and understanding when there's functional breakdown, what can I do to correct it before it actually becomes a disease process. So really, really important. Okay, so item number 3 today, for the time being, I'm going to continue to give you a COVID or virus update just because I'm really paying attention to sort of the background or the underground, if you will, what's going on in the scientific world. I'm interested in that. I'm really not watching the media, trying not to pay a lot of attention there. I'm not a politician. I'm not involved in the politics. That's not something that I have a direct control over. But what I do have a direct control over is me and how I treat my body and what I do to make myself more resilient and resistant to what's happening in the world as far as our health today. So right now we're dealing with a viral situation, regardless of which camp you're in or which, conspiracy theory, is it man-made? I don't know. I don't know the answers to any of that. But what I do know is there's a virus circulating worldwide that is having a huge impact in so many ways in our lives, our physical bodies, our environment, our economy. And it's incumbent now more than ever on every single person to be responsible and step up and do the one thing that you have control over, and that is to manage your own health, to make you resilient. Because here's the deal, guys. This is the jumping off point. It is not going to get better from here in terms of the types of viral illnesses and things that are coming down the pike for us in the future. This virus, unlike any other, has absolutely uncovered for all of us the fragility of the systems, of our body systems, and our lack of self-care, and the chronic illness and obesity and craziness that goes on in our immediate world right here in our culture. People who have absolutely shrugged off any responsibility for their self-care, that has been absolutely highlighted with this particular virus. So I want to appeal to all of you. If you can't tell, I'm pretty passionate about this. I mean, I built my whole career for the last 20 years around helping people to really establish a healthy baseline. And now I understand more than ever how critical that is going forward. There's not going to be answers. So let's say they come up with a COVID immunization. I will not be the first one in line for that, by the way. If it comes out in the next 6 months, it is a scary thing, right? I mean, everything is being sped up to the point where I believe that shortcuts will possibly be taken. So I would want to see kind of how that goes. But it's not going to be a vaccination that's going to work for the other things coming down the pike. So it's really important that you work on your own body system, get the testing I talked about, go back and review some of the videos I've already done on the top nutrients that you could be taking and the right diet and all of those things. But today, as far as a viral update, aside from the fact that the cases are increasing, and it appears that, at least in California, we've been rolled back to, the earlier restrictions that we had, which is really unfortunate for everyone. There was a new study just published this morning in the Journal of Gastroenterology by Cedars, right, our local hospital here in LA, showing that proton pump inhibitor use. Okay, so let's just talk about that for a minute. What is it? PPI, you've heard that term, or proton pump inhibitor, are basically medications that shut down the proton pump, which is responsible for the production of acid in the stomach. Now, why do we do that? Well, acid in the stomach is super critical, right? It's what breaks down the food that you ate and gets it ready to go into the small intestine, where it'll get separated into the nutrients that your body needs. Without ample stomach acid, that breakdown doesn't happen, and unfortunately, the proper nutrition doesn't get where it needs to go. And in our crazy, stressful world, where people have poor diets and just a lack of self-care in general, what we're finding is that people actually have a lower production of stomach acid, which then creates a situation in the body where the proton pump starts to work kind of overtime and creates GERD and acid regurgitation and acid problems for people. But it started because the acid was too low or not being properly produced. Of course, the conventional medicine response to that was to create drugs that shut off that pump and shut off that production of stomach acid. And consequently, we've seen an explosion in healthcare issues such as osteoporosis, for instance, where the breakdown of the nutrients that are needed for the protection and creation of new bone are not happening because the food is not being properly broken down and dispensed through the stomach. So there is a place for proton pump inhibitors, absolutely, but it's temporary. They should be used very short term. It says right on the label in the box, and every physician knows it. And it's been big news in the medical industry over the last couple of years that chronic use of proton pump inhibitors creates a lot of trouble. Well, here's a new problem they create. In a study published today, it appears that in a relatively large number of people, and a lot of the variables were accounted for, so they felt comfortable in making this statement that the use of PPIs doubles the risk for COVID infection. Now, why is that? Well, there's probably a number of reasons, but I would say that when we shut off the proton pump and we inhibit the production of stomach acid, it inhibits then the breakdown of the nutrients that we're consuming in our diet and our supplements that we're taking, our vitamin D and all of those things that we're running through our gut, especially if you're taking your PPI close to foods that you're eating and supplements that you're taking. So if you're using a proton pump inhibitor, you want to make sure you're taking that far away from food and supplements and medications. It will impact your ability to absorb those things. So what we're seeing is when we impact that absorption, we're not getting good immune nutrition, and we're also impacting the digestive system, which is where a big percentage of our immune function is housed. Right? Acid production in the stomach is another layer of protection also for us from the outside world, right? It is the one system that allows things outside of us to come inside of us, be processed properly before they get to go internally to the cellular structure. So the digestive system is super critical, and messing with it's not a good idea. However, let me qualify. Proton pump inhibitors, if you're watching this and you're taking any of these, omeprazole, which is Prilosec, lansoprazole, which is Prevacid, pantoprazole, which is Protonix, rabinoprazole, Acifex, Nexium, Dexilant. If you're on any of these medications, do not stop them based on what I just said. First of all, talk to your doctor. How long have you been on them? And why are you on them in the first place? That issue is going to need to be corrected before you just stop your medication. So these are not medications that you want to stop cold turkey. You will get rebound effect. You can have some significant problems with a rebound impact. So you do not want to stop these cold turkey. It is a slow titration down, very slow. It takes a couple of months to get off of these if you've been on them for a long time. Plus, you have to remember that these don't repair damage. These are simply there to shut off that pump so that the acid is not constantly creating a bigger problem for the lining. So you need to find out why you were having the issue to begin with and correct that. And oftentimes that's something that we can do through lifestyle modification, through proper supplement treatment and so forth. Again, a good reason to do the stool test I talked about in segment number 2. So again, do not stop your PPI. Talk to your doctor. Understand if you've been on this for a long time, 1 year, 2 years, why are you still on it when you're only supposed to be on them for a few weeks? If your doctor has a really good reason for that, then now's the time to start thinking about what can I do to fix this problem so that I am increasing my resilience. Because right now, if you're taking that, according to this study, your chances of contracting infection, it's not just COVID infection, guys, but that's what we're interested in right now, and that's what we're looking at. You've got a double chance, a more than double chance of being infected with COVID because you're cutting off some of the protective measures that your body takes to keep viruses and things outside. So again, I'm going to be starting a series here shortly, a kind of a training series, if you will, a webinar series on how to become more resilient. I believe that that is going to be the key for all of us as we move forward in the world and begin to encounter the things that are coming down the pipe for us. I think COVID is really just a launching point. It's one of the first real major impacts in the healthcare arena that has uncovered all of the kind of the holes and the deficiencies that we have in our self-care routines, in our healthcare systems, and in our political system, unfortunately. So the number one most important control you have, guys, is your control over yourself and the things you do for you, because the stronger and the better and the healthier and the more resilient you are, the more productive and helpful and impactful you can be in society. So rather than sitting there stressing over the news and the politics and in Gavin Newsom's latest rollback in California, rather than spending all of your time stressing there and making more trouble for yourself in your gut, turn your attention towards yourself and the things that you can be doing. And I've covered all this in previous videos, so go back and look at all those. But I am going to put together a resilience training kind of program, if you will, and I'll keep you all posted on that. Okay, so I'm going to get off my soapbox now. But I love your questions and your comments and the things that you want to know more about. So please reach out to me on my website. You can reach me on email through there, call me, and I'm happy to cover those subjects. We can thank Anne for the request today to talk about protein powder. So I hope you found this helpful. And every Wednesday at 9 a.m., I'm right here live for you. I repost a recording to my database and Constant Contact, and I now have someone helping me that will make sure that you guys have access to recordings in the other venues like Instagram and Facebook and so forth. So anyway, love you all. I'll talk to you next Wednesday. Take care. Have a great week.